And it's just,
And you probably spoke about it once.
it's, I spoke better.
Yeah.
They didn't have a phone. They had a phone service, and they don't use WhatsApp with Wi-Fi. I don't know, but they have Wi-Fi in the show. Yeah, I gotta go to the phone. Yeah, also we think that.
We'll see if anybody's down there.
At least,
Yeah, we got 4 out there. How many do you need?
and
Hard to just buy it for somebody else or?
I went down and got an AT&T prepaid. It costs
Oh, prepaid.
$30 for the phone and $30 a month for service. And then I'll set them up for a little while and see what kind of service. They've got a 5-year-old that needs to be in school. 6-month-old was sick, and the son, I was at a county. So, ER. Hey, little.
Did you get an invite to the Zoom?
Yeah.
I didn't get it.
No, just passenger, so there's not a
Yeah.
better system, better.
There's no shelter. So they're in all different.
Get done soon.
See you.
Send you an invitation, get it recorded.
I was changing planes in Denver after the BYU football game on Sunday morning. They were changing planes in Denver, having been sent from El Paso.
Greg, what's your email?
And I didn't
C
see the click and I saw the.
FRIAN.
There we go. I got you. Just needed to get started. Hopefully, I need you to join the meeting so that your slides can be recorded.
Okay. It's the same one Sam just moved to.
Oh, yeah.
You're
You're so speedy.
Awesome.
It's the same one, so.
Jumping the border to the jungle and Trump. Your child.
Yeah, being pregnant and just, yeah. Oh, we're starting on that.
You know, to get through. And then just throw stuff in there. She had cut some of those. But it must cost.
There you go. And we're already recording.
That was the situation today.
You ready?
Yep.
And I think a lot of that, I don't think.
So then, Mike, the one.
Recording in progress.
Yeah, so I'll mute.
Okay. The next item I have. We just have so I don't know if you guys are aware, we did bring the TMP update to council last week. So it was last week. And they decided to, so first off, planning commission forwarded a resolution to the council that they gave it a positive recommendation with conditions. Those conditions were to remove 8th South and 12th North overpasses. They wanted to remove the widening projects related to 8th East and 8th West. Remove the 16th North project east of State. They did not want 8th West to connect to Campus Drive. They also had some comments in there regarding some comments they made towards connectivity. And then also just some feature items to discuss, those being bike lanes, UVU connectivity, Forum Center Street, and some of those items. I guess I'm just asking, and with that being said, staff, we agreed with them as far as removing 8th East projects and 16th North projects. And then we developed a list of advantages and disadvantages for some of the other projects. What we felt like if they were to remove the 8th South overpass, the 12th North overpass, 8th West widening, the 8th West connection to UVU, and then comments regarding connectivity. And I can share that with you guys if you guys would like to look at that, but I'm also, I guess, opening it up. Is there, of those items that were brought up, is there anything that the TAC feels strongly like, no, we should keep those overpasses, and no, we should do this, we shouldn't do that? Because I think it would be good to have you guys there saying, you know, we reviewed this just as well, but we feel like, understanding that this was planning commission, but we feel like we forwarded this, we'd like to keep that, or do you guys completely agree with planning commission? It's kind of the opening comment that I'll make. You guys can discuss. Laura?
Is something like the overpass over 8 South, that is, isn't that a UTA project? Or like, we're talking about over the freeway?
Yep.
Like that's not a city project.
So these projects are all identified in our transportation master plans. They're understanding that these are projects that have been identified by the regional transportation plan, and they are taking into account what the model has identified as choke points and ways that we can improve our levels of service. 8 South was a project that is something that would coincide with UTA. It was part of a phase 2 of UVX, essentially getting the BRT off of Parkway. But then it also provides a level of service to the citizens of Orem. I mean, to Marlon's point, if you live on 12 South and you can access now 8 South to get down to the temple, your timing probably just got even faster. But I mean, but those are some of the things that Planning Commission was very adamant that they removed, because they felt like there were other points to that. And there are some, you know, because you got to remember, we have the numbers from the governor's office of economic development. We have, if things were to continue on certain climbing and growth and elevation, State Street is probably going to change. There's going to be density there. There's going to be some revitalization, some redevelopment. And they're assuming that because of that happening, it's going to still continue to be a magnet. You have all this pass-through traffic. So they identified 8 South to be widened to 5 lanes, but that was also identified from Provo to Orem, not necessarily going up through. So there are projects that are identified, but even with that being said, if there happens to be, hey, we have a level of service F here, we've been looking at the numbers, should we move forward and study it? Is this what we want to do? Then the process starts. We study it. We go through this same type of a process. We go to an open house. no one's in support of doing a 5-lane cross section, I'm not gonna be the guy that's gonna die on the sword saying we need to do it. If the neighborhood doesn't want it, we're not gonna do it, right? And the council doesn't have to do it. All they are is there are projects that have been identified that, hey, you guys should have these in your transportation master plan, which if the council or the citizenry decide to
Somebody's
want to
gonna shut down.
do this, we're also collecting, we're starting to collect impact fees, so we'll have some monies which go toward the match money or whatever for some of these projects, so that's kind of
So
a big picture.
They
But-
took out a bridge on 8th South over the freeway.
They took out 2,
And
because
the one
there's
on
also
12th
one at 12th,
Okay.
and they wanted to eliminate, like I said, that the projects on 8th East, and those essentially go from 8th South, go up and around, and then down 16th North down to State Street, that loop in a sense.
Did they have an argument as to why they wanted to take those out or just?
So their argument is that they don't want to destroy neighborhoods, they don't want to ruin neighborhoods. You put in those 5 lanes, you're buying homes, you're creating this division, which completely understand. But understanding too, that if we let these projects, if we eliminate those and these corridors become congested, people are gonna use other corridors, and then you're gonna have that same type of level of service kind of spreading throughout.
Yeah, people will go down the neighborhood when the road is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, so I mean, for me, 8th West connection, I mean, if 8th West were to ever connect to UVU, yeah, I could see where it would be a major thoroughfare. I mean, it's a nice direct connect. But where I don't think there's an appetite for that, there is a need to widen the section of 8th West from Center Street to 4th North. It's at 34 feet of asphalt. Our minimum collector, which is what it's classified as, is anywhere from 46 to 50 feet of asphalt. And if we're trying to put bike lanes on there, which we can do, then it's gonna be, we gotta remove parking. Well, so far there hasn't been that appetite either to go ahead and say, I'm gonna take away your parking in front of your house so I can put in a bike lane. So there are some areas that are some choke points. 8th West is one, 8th South, east of or west of State. I wanna say it's probably like from like 200 east down to Main Street. I mean, there's
The
somewhat of
traffic
a
counts
choke
have
point
got to
there.
be incredible right now.
Right, and I mean, so some of it, it's like, I understand that we can't build ourselves out of congestion, which we've all discussed. But I mean, how far are we gonna go? And these projects were left in there. And I think there was a fear by planning commission that if they're there, then it's gonna happen. We're gonna be taking homes, we're gonna be displacing these people, and they don't wanna be displaced, so they wanna have them removed. I mean, Jeff was at the council meeting. I mean, what can you say to that, Jeff?
Oh, no, hang on before you go there, because I want to hear that. But at the council meeting, planning commission presented, or how did you find out what planning commission wants?
Well, planning commit, well,
They make a
We
recommendation.
provided them this resolution, that planning commission.
Yeah, I'm a little confused because we had a meeting with planning commission and I asked them in that meeting, what do you want specifically? And they said, we just want to understand. We don't want to take anything out. We don't want to change anything. We just want to understand where you guys are coming from. And so I thought we left that meeting with a pretty good understanding that we were leaving everything the way it was, with the understanding that these are projects that have to move forward, but will be decided upon if they want to move forward as
In
an
the
option in the
future.
future,
As an option.
which is what we explained to them. So the fact that they've developed this letter of recommendations behind our back and contrary to what they told us, and then presented that to you guys without any input from us feels a little,
Sketchy.
I don't know what the right word is.
Underhanded?
Yes, all of the above. So I'm a little bothered by the fact that to our faces, they said, this is great. And correct me if I'm wrong at how that meeting ended, but this is great. And we understand now, and we can move forward with it. At least was the impression I got. And now we find out that they want to revamp it significantly. So, I mean, we understand all of this, and our decision was leave them in with the understanding that we don't have to move forward if the timing and the cost and whatever isn't right.
I remember
or
talking to
desire.
Kathy, and she and I both were concerned about that 800 East expansion. And the conversation we ended with was, if it stays in the plan, we would never vote for that to move forward. Like, it could stay in the
I
plan,
know,
that's fine.
we
don't
may
ever
not.
want that to happen.
We
just
may
think that's a
not.
good idea.
but we can be outvoted.
Yeah.
And that's the point. I will never vote ever for the bridge on 8 South. I think it's stupid, not because it's stupid, but because they built a $33 million pedestrian bridge right next to it. And
Yeah.
so I'm really pissed that they didn't combine those two. And as a punishment, you should never get one on 8 South. So I digress, but the point is, I won't ever vote for it, but that doesn't mean that 90% of the people that live in the area don't want it, or won't want it, I should say.
Well, they
Thanks,
didn't
Craig.
want it, and that's what
Hey,
happened.
I'll email you.
They definitely did.
So,
I'd like to know who thought.
okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
So I'm sorry to just
There
hijack
seems to be,
that, but
there seems to be a misunderstanding in our culture in town about plans. That somehow a plan is the future. Like,
It's gonna be.
it's the way it's gonna be and nothing can alter it, and we're gonna, we're gonna throw people out of their houses, we're gonna put a concrete everywhere. That's what happened with, in my opinion, with the State Street Master Plan. Like, we had to plan something. I was on the planning commission when that was approved, and it was like, well, you have to plan. If you don't, I mean, what are you gonna do if you don't plan? That's stupid. So you make a plan. Does it have to be like that? No, it's a plan that can be altered, but it seems like it's the same mentality, like, we can't plan because it might be bad, or like.
well, more importantly, and we can go through these plus and minuses, the benefits and drawbacks. The problem is that we're looking at a hypothetical, right? And maybe the positive and drawbacks from the moment, right? But in 10 years, when 8 South becomes logical or probable, the pluses and minuses might be totally different than what we're looking at right now. And so the point is, if you take it off now because of some hypothetical whatever from today's perspective, then we've destroyed the possibility of having it in 10 years.
Yes.
That seems dumb.
Well, my question also was, can we take off things that are other agencies? And we can certainly talk about the roads that we're in charge of here in Orem, but if that's a UDOT or a UTA project, I know they want to work with the city, I know they want to shove things down people's throats, but is it like to take that off of our master plan when it's on their master plan? Seems like then we're not trying to work in concert or in sync with these other agencies that we have to work in concert and sync with in order to get anything done. So that's why the question, like, is it theirs? Is it even our place to take off things that UDOT or UTA say, this is in our?
We need to address this. That's how I read, that's how I read it when the MAG or whoever says, this is the problem. What are you gonna do about it? Are we gonna say nothing? I mean, no, we don't wanna think about that right now because it makes us uncomfortable. That's.
Well, it makes a few people uncomfortable right now.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not fair for the whole city.
I don't think so.
Maybe we should review their master plan for the city and comment on it.
Well, and that's the other thing is why is the other problem I have is they presented their view of something that's not their purview,
Their
I
bailiwick.
suppose. But anyway, they did without our opportunity to say our piece, I suppose. And I don't know, maybe you guys.
Maybe that's my fault. Maybe I should have had you there to speak to that. I don't know. To me, it's.
I mean, it feels like, I guess was my point. It feels like that was done intentionally to make sure that our views were not expressed because they know what our views are. We gave it to them in that meeting,
That's a good letter.
right? So they know exactly where we're at. And then they went like they're the transportation committee and expressed their views to city council. And that's.
The tone of that meeting, it did end more positively.
Well, when I finally said,
Is this the meeting that the planning commission?
Yes.
It was really kind of the
And
key.
the- and
it was heated at first, but that's
Yeah.
the point. I finally asked the question.
Yeah.
I literally stopped them and I said, look, what do you guys want? Like, I love the discussion. We're having a great discussion, but what do you want? And they said, I remember this. They said, we just want to understand. And now that we understand, we get it and we're fine.
So they forgot.
And so they
forgot.
left. Well, I think
Guess it's being recorded.
It is recorded.
I don't know if they forgot. Okay, so I don't know, but the point is that I feel like they went ahead and went intentionally with this to city council with the intent to change the TMP
Right.
against what we've come up with and our recommendation was.
I would agree. It feels like we were disregarded.
And
So I
there's-
guess with that said, I'd love to hear what city council.
Yeah,
ended up
and I
with.
think Sam summed it up very well, but you have two different. Yes, two different philosophies or ways of looking at things, and the one being that. I think Becky expressed it very well. And that was my point in asking the question, Sam, what kind of a timeline are we looking at here? Are we talking about 2025? Are we talking about 2030? We're talking about 2050? Because, yeah, things are going to change. I think growth is going to continue to happen, and people are going to continue to come. And so we can either plan and leave these bookmarks in place so that, you know, we're not shutting the door on these. Should in 10 years or 15 years or 20 years, this needs to happen. Well, all of a sudden we're starting at ground zero again. And we've lost our positioning on those dollars to help that to happen sooner. So, yeah, I don't know that it was, I don't know. Yeah, we should have had someone there from the transportation committee to voice those concerns.
It was probably better we didn't, but go ahead.
So we have an opportunity, it was continued. And I would imagine they're gonna open it to, and we have to develop an agenda. I say you guys.
So
should
who
have a
put
voice.
together the plus minus? Was that you and city council, or you guys at the direction of city
It was-
council?
It was Ryan and I, we put it together because, I mean, I'm looking at this is a give and a take. And I just felt like, you know, 8th South and 12th North, I know how you feel about it, but I know it's a huge, it helps complete our grid network. I look at other cities that don't have as many underpasses as we do. To be able to go from east to west and quite frankly, we want all these communities to come here and spend their dollars. We provide great services because we collect a lot of sales tax. If we start shutting this down, it's gonna, if I'm Vineyard and I'm Linden and I'm Provo, I'm ecstatic about that. It's like, that's great. That means it's gonna create this quagmire here. And these businesses are gonna wanna come to our communities and we won't have to go there to shop. And now we can bolster our coffers. And I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
Look at Provo, they have very limited east-west
do.
mobility. And they have one interchange, Center Street, basically. I mean, they've got East Bay, but
And
it's-
that's why they're.
I avoid it all.
It is. It is.
Yeah,
It's not by their interchange. Well, and that's why, that's why I'm trying to be open-minded. To the extent that I didn't fight you about it being in there. I mean, I told you my piece, right? But I don't fight it being in there. I understand that 10 years from now, I might have a totally different opinion. Right? And we might need it. And I know it's not happening
And
for
that
10
neighborhood
years.
might feel
in
different.
10
than
years,
they did 10
I
years
might have a
ago.
great chance to move if it happens. I don't, who knows, right?
Right.
But to take it out because of some hypothetical or some current dislike with it, understanding that it's not even a reality, like, come on.
I haven't been on the planning commission. They don't, they don't, like, we have to think about the funding. And so that was a big part, I think, of our thinking about the transportation plan. Was the years were on there, the numbers were on there. And it's part of the way we think about it, like. But the planning commission does, I feel like they didn't look at that part of it, or they don't consider that funding aspect of these projects that are hypothetical, but we have to, like Jeff said, we have to get in the pipeline. You can't start the pipeline in 2030 for a project that you need in 2035. And I don't think the planning commission understands. That's my opinion.
I think it would be good for us to be able to express some of these thoughts in front of council as they look to adopt it. And, you know, I would refute their refutation of ours, of our thought process.
When is the next? When's the next tip that the city does?
One of
This
these?
is an update of one from.
5
however many
years, isn't
ago.
it?
Yeah.
So is it
I
it's
would,
mandated every 5 years?
no, what you wanna do is you wanna reevaluate all of your impact fees. You have to have them expended, I think by 6 or 7 years, so you try and review all of your master plans within 5. To make sure everything's on course. I mean, right now, we're looking at collecting fees for projects that were estimated in 2017, 2018. Because there was an update, they just updated it as is, didn't get into it.
So I mean,
This
I
one, they
think,
wanted to take out the State Street Master Plan, and our fees are based off of lower dollars.
so I think part of the response is an explanation that this is part of a regular review process that's gonna happen every 5 years. None of the projects listed here would start in this 5-year period. They're on there as bookmarks for potential things that have been marked by all of this data that has been collected. And in 5 years, if there doesn't seem to be, if the data has changed and there isn't a potential future need for that project, at that point, it could come off of the plan. Why take it off now when we're gonna review this again, and none of those things that are on it are going to be
I
happening
kinda
in
like-
this 5-year period.
I kind of like that point. It's like, do you think we just made this stuff up? I mean, was there a dartboard and we're just, hey, let's get that project and, oh, that one looks good. No, I mean, there's data behind it. There's a reason that we need to be looking at it.
And the data is modeled, right? It's based on the best inputs that you can get, but it doesn't mean it's gonna be accurate in 5 years. That's why we're reviewing it again in 5 years.
And it seems to me that some of those were NIMBYs. Well, you know what? I live in that area. No, I don't want that one. You know, and to your point, it's something that you don't want, but you realize that there are more opinions out there, and that feels like very, well, I don't want that happening in my neighborhood, so let's take that one out.
Yeah.
That's very, in
That's a
my
good
view,
point.
short-sighted.
This is developed by engineers using data and like real analysis.
Yeah.
Right? And then you get someone that comes in and says, well, I don't like it because I don't want it.
Right.
And I mean, I understand that's sometimes what it comes down to, but to remove something from a plan because a commission of 5 or 8 people of the city of 100,000 decide they don't want it in there, it doesn't seem logical.
Especially with Becky's understanding of what a plan is, that it's not a,
It's not a fait accompli.
yeah,
It's potential. And if it happens, we have to be prepared for it. And if we're not prepared for it, then we haven't done our job to prepare the city
Well, yeah.
for
what
where
do
it
we
needs
do
to be.
here? What do we do?
So. Did they lawyer up to get that written, or do we need to lawyer up?
I mean, our attorney did draft it, but it's,
Well, can we get the attorney to draft our rebuttal, or can we send that one? I
I
mean,
mean, I think the only thing really, I think the best option is just to come there.
Are you
If guys
joking
can-
or the city lawyer did?
No, our attorney's draft.
so I mean, and I
I mean,
don't
they
have
just-
tongue in cheek with the, do we need to lawyer up, but
No,
what's
They
the
went with what the
process to
planning
move forward?
commission said.
no, I mean, no, it's just.
He
what
didn't make it
drafted he Presented, it's just there, put it in there. But I mean, I think the best thing would be, for you guys just to come to the city council meeting and voice your concern.
I mean, I'd be willing to take that document and type it up using word for word, and just where they say remove, I'd say include.
This is for every item that comes before the planning commission has this type of resolution.
Why do they do that and we don't?
They have
Why,
more
I mean, are they
authority.
special?
They are planning commission, city council, board of adjustment. Those are the 3 that have resolutions.
Okay,
Any other commission or board in the city does not.
okay, so there is a special, okay.
Mhm.
Just didn't know they were special. I think we should. I think we
And
should go,
Your letter was part of the packet, whether they looked at it or not, I cannot say, but it was part of the packet.
yeah, I mean, I think we refer back to that and say, we've already commented, there are There are roads in that plan that don't align with the letter that we.
Well, I
wrote,
don't think there's anything that excludes us
but
from
we didn't
making
take
a
out the
resolution, right,
roads.
to city council. So why can't we develop a resolution that
So,
goes
so
to city
what it
council?
is so the city council is adopting by resolution the transportation master plan.
Right,
And this, what that was, is that the planning commission forwarded a positive recommendation with these conditions. So
Right.
essentially, I drafted a resolution that was the city council is going to adopt the planning. I mean, that's what the city council would have adopted. Planning commission, similar to what the TAC does, is they provide a recommendation, positive recommendation, negative recommendation. You guys could have forwarded a positive recommendation with these things removed. And it would have been similar to that, and I would have brought that to planning commission. You guys could have said.
so
TAC
we
approved
can't
it.
actually propose anything to city council, is that what you're saying,
You can,
by resolution?
right, it's just a recommendation.
Well, then how do we compete with that? I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Well,
If we can't actually do anything, then what are we doing here?
you guys have kind of written a rebuttal.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so this is the staff's rebuttal. Couldn't we just come back you up somehow?
Like I said, yeah, it would be
Just
great.
like
for you
rubber
guys to
stamp
come to
you?
this. Because what happens
When is the
is
meeting?
next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday,
The 10th,
the
6,
10th,
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. I think there's something on my calendar there. Let me look. Oh, yeah, city council meeting.
So I mean, they chose to continue it. I'm not sure.
So that's what the planning commission recommended, but the city council is the one who makes a decision. They don't have to take those recommendations.
Right. And we could say the Transportation Advisory Commission recommends that you pass the Transportation Master Plan
And
as is,
I wish, I guess,
recognizing the guiding principles that we wrote out in that letter.
and understanding the planning commission disagrees with us. That's why we're here to tell you that they're wrong and we're right.
but I think it was very nice of them to come and meet with us.
Right.
It was very
Unfortunate.
unfair of them to forward this resolution without the input from us.
Right.
It would have been very nice if they put in there somewhere, we met with the Transportation Advisory Committee, and this is what they mentioned. However, we still hold the following recommendations based on Planning Commission. So that at least City Council would know that we had an input. I mean, did you see our letter?
That was forwarded to the council.
So the letter was part of the packet.
Yeah.
So you have the staff report and then you have all the documents
least you
behind
saw
it.
it.
You wanna look at this? I don't
Well,
see why we
it's
should just say
available
we
to
agree with what
everybody, right.
staff's recommended here, because that's what we recommend.
So basically, staff was recommending, as Sam said, take out 16th North from State Street to 8th East and the 8th East project. So when this was put on the agenda, was that directed by council members or was that staff?
When what was.
The transportation.
Transportation master plan. So that was just something that was in the due course of making this thing, getting this done, getting it finalized.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I mean.
We were working on this for forever.
To look at chronological events, we tried to get this on in January and we're told to wait. And then we waited until March, April. Then we started the whole process again. We had some animation, we had some very upset animated folks. So we ended, August finally having, because we tried to bring it to planning commission. Because I mean, essentially TAC had made the recommendation, drafted the letter, that was in November. And then we tried to move it along and they just wanted to wait. And then now all of a sudden there's this burning desire to hurry up and get it in and get it approved in place. So for most of the summer, we were in a holding pattern.
Some of that might be the Imagine Orem meetings that are happening, the Orem conversation meeting, because I've talked to
Station area plans.
that one, because I talked to a couple of the planning commission members that are on that committee as well. And they are incredibly frustrated that they keep seeing on plans, especially that bridge. Right, that goes over the freeway. That bridge. And they think, well, why is that there? Because then people are making decisions about how they want this area to look with the assumption that there's going to be a bridge there, which means then there will be a bridge
makes it
there
more
because you're
likely to
built,
happen.
yeah, they're more likely to happen. And so I think there's some frustration that they keep seeing this on different kinds of plans and feel like it's inevitable.
But also, would you want to not plan for it or even consider the possibility and not plan for that either? While you're developing
it's
that
like I
area?
tried
This is the thing that is most concerning to me in this document that I just barely looked at. Is the number one, right? Be it resolved by the Planning Commission of the City of Orem, Utah, as well as one, the Planning Commission finds this request is in the best interest of the city.
Yeah.
And I felt like at the meeting that we had with them, the Planning Commission felt like they were representing Orem and the.
They were the
interests of
city.
Orem.
Without question, yes.
And didn't think that that's what we were also doing.
Mhm.
I
Yeah, it
remember
was
that
a little
being like,
bit.
it was like, well, we're here to represent Orem too. We're actually on the same team. We're all part of the same community. We have kind of different responsibilities and we've spent more time talking about this, so we're here to answer some questions. And I feel like that attitude maybe is continued here, that they are saying they know what, they're the group that can speak for what's best for the city. And I take. a
Well,
little bit of
and
umbrage with
transportation,
that
which
in
seems
terms of
weird, but-
transportation, because we spend more time talking about it and learning about it.
And they're an appointed commission. Yeah. They're not elected.
Yeah.
Which makes me
City
wonder,
council.
makes me wonder, how do we get the city constitution changed so that we can do resolutions that should be in our purview?
And I think there's a way to say this.
The biggest reason why this one went to planning commission is because we are amending the general plan. So that's one component to it. I mean, typically, if we weren't amending the general plan, it wouldn't have gone to planning commission. It would have probably just gone to the council.
And I think we could point to our cover letter, so not just the things that they want done, but this emphasis on connectivity and this call for better active transportation. We did that already.
So was there somebody
We don't-
from planning commission there to defend this, or were you guys just discussing it based on what's in there?
We were discussing it, Sam presented, and then went through these items of concern.
Oh, so you had this, that's why
They
you
had that
guys,
too.
okay.
And then, there were some council members that had asked an opinion of, one of the planning commission members that was there.
Yeah.
For his input.
But we said, so they're upset about this idea of connectivity and removing, right? The idea is we want there to be as many straight streets as possible in a city that's full of cul-de-sacs, right? But in the cover letter that we did, we talked about neighborhood preservation. So we don't need to necessarily address, because we do need more connectivity in the city. We also need neighborhood preservation. So I don't want to hamstring the city in times when connectivity is gonna perhaps trump neighborhood preservation. Not that that would always be the case.
Right.
But we've already called for that. We've already called for an evaluation of keeping neighborhoods intact. We've already called for better active transportation and biking. So this is just repetitive from what we've already done. The exhibit, the last part of it.
Yeah,
And then they have the parts where they specifically call out projects. I think we just say, that's just not good planning, and we need to be prepared for the future. And for BNC, our cover letter already addressed those concerns.
Who can make the meeting next week on the 10th?
I can be there. I don't want to be there alone, or I will show.
No, I will be there.
What, would we be at the beginning of the meeting? I can be at the beginning.
Oh, that's more the
I'd have to say, it's gonna be there a while, Laura. I don't know what you got going on, but there's usually, there's a few things, and then there's public appearances. I don't think I started until about 7. But, so I was there for a good hour, whatever.
It depends on what the public appearances look like. Sometimes there's no one, and sometimes there's 15 people.
Is it on the agenda yet?
No.
You'll see the agenda.
So right now,
I'm a maybe.
there are 2 items on there. Oh, here we go.
I
Updated,
can be there, but.
it's item number 2.
I'm happy to like help draft a statement. If that's
Well-
useful. I mean, not that anybody would have to like read it word for
Yeah.
word or use it, but if we wanted to put some of these ideas down
I
on
think I
paper.
would work better from bullet points.
Yeah.
And be able to converse. I'm happy to stand up and speak about it.
Do they have to sign up ahead of time to be able to speak? And then do they only get 3 minutes?
I wouldn't think we'd want to have this as a public appearance.
Okay, this would be
I think
part of
this
your,
would be part of
agenda.
that. So I don't want to. I mean, what are your thoughts, Jeff? I mean, Jeff.
So,
I'm just gonna say Jeff said.
so my question is, how do we get it on the agenda?
it is on the transportation master
agenda.
plan is
Okay.
number 2 on the.
So
agenda.
how do we make room for this commission to present as part of that?
I don't know that we need to. Because Sam, you know, you're advocating for leaving them in. I'm assuming.
Yeah, could.
So
just be
I
there,
think
backup.
we be there and you say, I just want to be acknowledged and say the Transportation Advisory Committee and their representatives are here today in support of leaving which they have reviewed carefully, right? And have provided their opinions and review and are in favor of leaving it as is. And I think if we're there and we stand up and we present ourselves, we don't have to speak because you're doing it.
Or if you wanted someone to speak that might carry more, one of us would be designated. I would say to stand up and say, hey, this is. It's not just Sam making this up, we're here and we did this. Whatever you think would carry more weight and be more well received by the commission. Or the council, sorry.
I mean, I think it carries some weight to get up and speak. For you guys to speak through your process. I don't know I think it's probably a little bit more. Yeah, you just want to be able to speak your support as much as I think it would be nice to mention how you felt a little deceived by what happened with some of the other commissions. I don't know if that's gonna.
No,
I think it just might
I think,
No, we don't have
I
to
agree.
say
We
that.
just focus on the fact that this is the transportation master plan. We reviewed it. We did our part.
We
As a
disagree,
committee,
but they're out.
As a committee, we recommended it as is, and there's reasons for that. And if we want to spend 2 minutes outlining those, then you're right. We'd be positive.
And I think that carries weight. I think they get to see a different side. Because right now they just see the one side.
Right.
Personally, what do you think, Jeff?
I agree. That'd be good.
Would it be helpful to draft up some bullet points? I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
Conversation
so then
and
the
share it
question
as a Google
becomes,
Doc, and then you can make changes.
if we're going to have a single speaker, as we're talking about, we should select one. And, kind of be prepared. I don't know, as the chair, what do you think about that? Do you want to speak or do you prefer not to?
I'm happy to do it. If you want me to be the face of it, that's fine.
Well, and I'm happy to be the face of it, and I think Laura and Becky are allowing us
I
to.
don't want to be the face of it, but I'll be back up.
I'm happy to be, but I can't guarantee I'm gonna be there, so I won't be here, but I'm happy to draft.
Anyway, we'll flip a
We'll
coin
work it
when we
out.
get there,
Yep.
whatever.
Okay, I'll work on that and share it as a Google Doc, and then anybody can make changes to it. As bullet points. And keep it short and sweet.
I just want to make a tangential comment here. Before the primary election, I sent the same email to all the candidates that were running with Jeff, and there were at least 3 whose, it was a question about growth, it was and their policy that they were advocating was 0 growth.
Right.
And I thought, is that possible? I don't know. So I think that's kind of.
No babies, you're done.
No
Done.
babies. and
Nothing.
No
I mean,
growth.
It's no, it's.
They've been told us to put some in the water, so.
Yeah, just.
Well, I mean, that's everything. To me, that's like no business growth, no tax growth. I mean, that.
Oh, what
mean, how do you-
happens when you have 0 growth? Look at
You have
Cleveland,
attrition. You don't have
Toledo, Detroit,
growth.
those cities
It's why I
lose
didn't
population.
vote for them, But I'm saying, I
Mhm.
think that there's some of that thinking.
Well, there
that's
is.
A little bit floating around, yeah.
There's,
We
there,
don't want to plan because we refuse to face the fact that there will be growth.
I had a conversation with somebody at the forum front runner, what are we calling that? process?
Station area.
Station area plan, thank you.
The
Who said to
monstrosity.
me, when I expressed some concerns about business attrition, if we don't plan in ways that helps to support businesses to continue to thrive here. And her response was, well, I don't believe that will happen. I was like, okay. And when I said something to the effect of like, if my kids chose to live there, where would they go if we don't make a few changes in some of the ways that we are building? And she looked at me and said, I don't care.
That's, I
And
kind
I
of
was like,
response like that a couple times.
okay, that's a hard idea to have a constructive conversation about where we can find the ground.
And literally that one said it's okay that the real estate just continues to get more and more expensive and everyone's just priced out. That's fine. Oh, I don't think like that, but okay, that's interesting that you think like that.
I assume that's the one you voted for.
I didn't.
Oh, okay. Just to be clear. No, if you don't manage growth, growth will manage you. And if we don't manage transportation now, transportation will manage us in the future. And that's a sad place to leave our kids.
Somebody should write that down.
Make that.
Let me write that.
Make it.
Got all recorded.
There we go. CJ, what are your thoughts here? You've been quiet in our group.
Removing potential growth options is bad, is that the Reader's Digest version?
Yeah.
I like it.
Keep our options open.
Yeah.
Fine, and the early committee was short-sighted and then decided one that's not, is that short of it? Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
You're gonna make a Google Doc.
I look forward to those pithy statements.
It's been a while.
We should write the private version. And then like the public version that we're willing to share after we
That's dangerous.
share our actual thoughts.
Well, I'm just gonna share it with the members of the TAC.
Well,
Who you
yeah,
choose
yeah.
to share it with is then.
No,
every
no,
other
no.
color. I did share the cover letter with the bike alarm group, but only because we had all signed off on it once
Right.
it was completely done.
I see us all a little bit riled, and it's kind of funny because today at work, we had a meeting and one guy, it's always Cal. He got me riled, he got Greg riled, and he got Bob riled, and all 3 of us were upset, and it's like, how does he do this? The guy is really skilled. If he got all 3 of us riled, because like we're split on BYU Utah, we don't get that riled about that, but we get that riled about Cal.
It's a gift. Some people have that gift.
He does. He just, anyway.
So does this sit well, Sam, from your perspective, if members of this commission show up
Yeah,
and are part of that presentation that you say at some point? The TAC discussed this, the planning commission's response to the master plan, and would like to address the council briefly.
I mean, I'll speak to Ryan and Bryn about it, and I would think that we would also make the mayor aware of it, so he's not caught off guard. At this is part of. I think it's worthwhile to give a listen to these folks. They've had the same amount of time, if not more. And they've reviewed it, listened to it.
Oh, Joe.
Important job.
How many presentations have you sat through and listened to? How many hours? It's been a lot.
I think disappointing part, you know, we talked about it a little bit, is that we're sitting here spending time like other people going over
Thanks,
stuff.
CJ.
And I know we're trying, I feel like, I'm biased, but I feel like we're trying to look at realistic option in the future and prepare for it.
Good picture.
And other people are trying to subvert the future and say, no, we don't want that to happen. We're not gonna let it happen. And it's gonna happen. I mean, there is no way to effectively stop growth without turning your city into a negative growth city, which people start moving away, and then you wind up a ghost town.
Yeah, unless Orem starts to stink and be a terrible place to live, which none of us wants.
Right.
If, as long as it's a nice place to live, people want to be here. That's why we're here.
Mhm.
I love it.
Other items on our meeting?
Any other questions? I mean, that's all I have. The final one was other items, and then we adjourned. You guys have any other questions? No? And I know there's the tank project. It's moving along, and we're gonna be, so you probably noticed on 8th South, we moved back down there. Now we're putting in the water main.
Mhm.
That's gonna be part of the tank. It will go down and feed the spring water area. So the tank will directly feed that area. So we're gonna install a 12-inch water main. It's high density polyethylene pipe, solid wall that'll be fused. So there won't be any connections to it. It'll just run straight from the tank all the way down to 8 South, 8 West, where there's a PRV, which is a pressure reducing valve in there. Right now, the water in Orem is up by the cemetery. That's where it's at. And it just kind of gradually goes from northeast to southwest, and we try and contain it in zones to hold pressure in each one. So we have about 50 PSI in them, so you guys can run all your showers and sprinklers and all that. But summertime, when we have high peak and we're trying to irrigate the golf course and Lakeside Sports Park, that big, large amount creates a huge draw down there, and all these pressure reducing valves, because as it's coming down from higher elevation to lower elevation, you have large amounts of pressure. So you break that and it goes down, but all of a sudden you have this big draw, all those valves have to open. Pressure is dropped and it's sucked down to that area. So putting in this direct line will help out that spring water area, and the central zone, which should be able to hold pressure. And then we're also putting in the water reuse facility down at the treatment plant. So that should, and the golf course and the sports park will be mainly irrigated with that water source. So pressure should be good, but this is all part of it. So yeah, so 8 South is going to get tore up again, putting in this water main. We'll put in hopefully we can get that in on 8 South and have it paved, and then we'll come back yet again and continue the rest of the storm drain on 8 South. So there's still one more component to it. 6 West is going to be blown up, putting the water main up, then get up to 4th West, and we'll get up to 4th South, and then do what we can while school's in session, but likely it'll have to be when school's out of session. Then we'll close it while they continue to work on tank, and then we can run some lines. There's a lot going on in that area.
Is it sort of end of summer next year? It should be
25, so we're looking to have that all. There's just a lot going on. I mean, it looks great, the finished product all there, but stage and build is wow. And then we should be getting steel here shortly for the city center. It should be coming, I believe, next week. Setting up some traffic control. We'll come in with trucks in this right turn lane here going westbound. And they'll be able to use the crane and just pick that steel and bring it in. start. They'll put lights on a few of the trees out front here, and then mainly I think it's all gonna be around Center Park. Train out there, there'll be all kinds of shit. All these. Yeah, we're just trying to get through these big projects. It'll be great to have John on board. I can let him handle all that. You guys got any traffic plans, transportation?
I took an email today. Saw that, it's like, I also did check in the last couple hours. So
Yeah, so
I just don't know what the process is. There's a trail that's gonna connect Provo to Orem.
So there's,
and then
so down at R 424 east, 2000 south, there's that Snake Hill area. It kind of comes down and right, we have a little basin there and there's a little spot that connects into Provo. Some of our sewer goes that way. And there's a roadway that's been dedicated.
It's gonna be a trail, but not really.
Yeah, apparently Grandview area does not like connectivity.
No, they're not.
So that the road is not gonna punch through, but they wanna have some sort of a sidewalk and trail. That part of 2000 South has sidewalk, so they would just connect that trail into that piece of it. If you're speaking going to the west, that was before me. 2000 South at that point used to be classified as a collector. And going back to this whole process where it's classified as a collector, because part of this MAG funding too is you have to have functionally classified roads, collectors and above. And when they're classified as that, then it's eligible for funding. And we had thoughts of, hey, 2000 South would be great to continue on through. And this is before Provo put in the water tank and connect to State Street, have another east-west connection in there. And our neighborhood in Orem did not want to have that roadway punched through, so we declassified it just to a local road, took it off the functional classification. So that's kind of, we had thoughts of, asking MAG for money to straighten that, make it safer, straighten it out, purchase properties, connect it through, but the neighborhood didn't want it, so we just kind of left it off the.
But the one that kind of skirts the hill.
Yeah.
You're gonna start to see when they finish off that trail, so developers doing like 2 big houses, and then
Yep,
they're gonna
yep.
make it a trail that is nicer. It's a pretty easy shot to get to 400. That would be
Well,
400
400
east.
east is just up. the
Yeah, so
hill.
you go like kind of maybe one street, and then you're on 400 east, which is a pretty straight shot to a lot of things. So I think you're gonna start seeing a lot more biking volume. So the question presented to me was how to make sure that is
So
connected in a way that
the one thing
is
we
safe.
gotta get our hands around, and that's something, we gotta talk about active transportation. We gotta get. Have to figure out how to meet the middle and get some warrants and figure out a way to have data to help support things. Because Russ wasn't here, but he's always one that he gets frustrated seeing bike lanes and never seeing anyone in them. And I think we got to figure out a way to, if it's one of those field of dreams, if we build it, then they will come. But then how many is they? And we start breaking down cost of improvements per user, kind of get into the same conversation with transit and rail. Cost for a rail project per rider is so much more than the cost per rider on a BRT. That's why BRT makes a lot more sense, even though in the big picture, it's not a whole lot of riders off of those.
It's an interesting graphic, and it had a picture of a road for 100 cars or 100 passengers per hour. It's a 2-lane road, and a picture of tracks for 100 passengers. And it was 2 tracks side by side. Picture of a road that would support 10,000 passengers per hour, which is now a 5-lane road, and a picture of tracks that would support 10,000 per hour. And it's the same two tracks, and ultimately there's numbers somewhere that support public transportation in that way, but it still comes down to the conversation of how far are you willing to walk to get to public transportation? And that's the one thing we lack here is the density of the public transportation to make the network really work.
Yeah.
And the same thing I would think about bike lanes. If there's a greater density, I don't know where the tipping point is, but at some point it tips to, oh yeah, this is a good idea because I can get here and here and here and it's safe. Or I have to go all the way around and come back to get on it safe, and nobody's gonna do that.
Yeah.
Very few are gonna do it.
Well, and a huge portion is, speaking of biking specifically, is if you build it, they will come. Because you only have the hardcore bikers who are willing to do it in conditions that don't feel safe.
Right.
But if you can make it feel safer,
Yeah.
the trajectory, every place that does that is that more people start using lanes. And you have, I will say that Bike Orem as an organization is ramping up in terms of people who have been joining and
They're kicking it into gear.
they really are. More public events, they're doing some
See, here,
bike buses to schools to emphasize where school routes could be improved. Right, so there's, and I know they made a big showing at the council meeting to talk about the need for an updated active transportation plan for the city.
So here's the problem. If you build bike lanes and people come here for the bike lanes, then we've got the problem of growth that people don't want to deal with. So it's just compounding this, you know?
So that's just like as an FYI, I'm part of that group, but I'm not like hardcore there. I'm more than I just generally like active transportation. Do they have a website? No.
They have a Facebook page.
Facebook page. And now a Discord channel that I cannot figure out how to access because the young people in the group, that's the platform they want to use. It's a gaming thing.
Yeah, my
apparently.
son got me on there once, so I could watch him play something.
I can't seem to figure out how to get onto it. So it was really funny at the last meeting that I went to. Someone was like, well, email and Facebook. And the younger, like, because there's a strong contingency of younger Orem residents who are also interested in, and they're like, how about Discord and Slack? And there's another one like, oh, there is a generational divide here.
Well, prepaid phone, it took us an hour to set up one prepaid phone today. And, we're both older and it's like, I don't know what this, and.
Should have given it to a 15-year-old, it would have
I
been
know.
done in 10 minutes.
I know, not lost.
But this group should know that that group is gonna be more vocal, I think, and wanting more spaces that feel safe to use and are very much about the road is for everybody, not to take away cars, not to make things harder, but just there's spaces that should be shared.
Not only shared space, but it also, at a certain point, makes the road easier to use because you have less cars.
My fear is that they're gonna choose to go down a very far left or far right. You're gonna be opposite, or we're not gonna get much done. That's my only fear when I watch it. They might be too far to one side.
We need like some real doable, meet in the middle solutions that work.
I agree.
And I have started saying, because I've just been seeing the Facebook page, people will be like, I almost got hit at this intersection. I almost I came so close. This car, it was totally unsafe. I had my kids with me. Now I've just started saying, call the city, make sure it's reported because you don't have numbers unless the police officers go up. We don't know what intersections feel really unsafe for people.
Well, even with that though, even from a traffic standpoint, from a vehicle traffic, it's, I mean, accidents are accidents. Near misses. I hate to say that they
Yeah,
don't
but
count.
near misses on a bike are much more significant than near misses in two cars.
Right, but I mean, a near miss is a near miss. I mean, we can witness it. If we had a camera there, that's probably one way to start, is we could put a camera up and see. But I mean, you go into a roundabout, there's a lot of near misses in roundabouts, but they're lower speeds, so they're safer, right? I mean, so it's kind of, I don't know. But if there
It
are
was
some,
just a way to say like, this is like, where are the spaces that really are uncomfortable that you're using? Because the city doesn't know. No, like you're, as the bike rider, you're the only one else. I think some of the members of that group would be very willing to help participate in a revamped active transportation plan. And it wouldn't be pie in the sky. But really more manageable. More manageable. That's what there's.
It is.
It's very effective. That was something that came out of that meeting as well, is, you know, their desire to be involved in a bicycling master plan. So,
Is there such a thing as one of those flashing stop signs that's like solar powered or whatever, that doesn't flash all night long?
You want a motion detected as well?
Well, I was in my neighborhood, there by the Tucanovis Hospital, 800 West, 1000. 3 of those corners are residential, and then there's the hospital.
Mhm.
But if you were to watch for more than 10 minutes, you would see about 3 people run very slowly, a California rolling stop, but they run.
10 north and 8
Yes.
west.
And I thought, oh, that'd be really great to have a flashing, and I looked at those people, I said, no, that'd be awful for those people, if they had to have that flashing in their bedrooms all night long. So I was just wondering if there was such a thing like the timed out or something.
I don't know if there is. I think they'd want to have it on constantly because you don't, you have to have it.
Yeah, but if somebody runs at 10 PM, that's no. If somebody runs it at 5:30.
Well, it is if there's a car coming the other way.
yeah.
Well, it's not,
Two running
it's a
at the same time.
residential, it's a residential intersection with a lot of cross traffic. I don't know how to describe it, but it's just,
Is it, I mean, do you feel like it, the 4-way stop should still be there?
it's a what?
Well,
I mean,
from a practical standpoint, it's an unwarranted 4-way stop.
Yeah, just get rid of it.
Because it's really, you got such a heavy north-south movement that they should.
Oh,
be
just
stopped.
let, oh, just,
Just
well, I
make
don't know
east-west
that 1,000
stop.
north would ever be able to cross, but
Right, I mean, that's the problem.
I'll think
is
about that. I'll think about
I
that.
mean, because, I mean, we've thought about putting in a mini roundabout in that area, but that's one of the classic examples of a unwarranted 4-way stop.
Okay.
A lot of political
Because
pressure.
most people want to go north-south.
Yeah. The predominant, I mean, typically a 4-way stop is when you have balanced movements. I mean, you have the same amount on each end, and then the next step is a signal. But when you have one that's fairly predominant, you typically don't put them at a 4-way stop. Now, understanding that on 8th East and 4th North, I'm constantly getting asked to put that in as a signal because it's the same thing. But what I need to do is do another study, a micro analysis of a model looking at 8th North and 8th East and Center Street and 8th East, because the last time I had it done, there are 2 separate signal timings, so that if I just go ahead and I put a signal there at 8th North or 8th East and 4th North, I allow that traffic just to go ahead and cruise on through, I'm essentially taking that congestion that's there, and I'm moving it just to those ends, and they're still gonna have to wait. I don't think there's a big savings of time, even though they think they are. But right now with that 4-way stop, it's kind of like an orifice. It's reducing this flow, but it's allowing folks to go east-west, a chance to get in there. If not, then they're having to sit and wait, and these people are having to sit and wait. So I'm constantly at odds with Chris Shirky. He's always telling me, I'm just like, Chris, I modeled it. It doesn't make any sense. If you want it to be a good corridor, then you gotta get 8th North and Center Street to be on the same one, so then it moves, but that's the state, this is us, and they're not quite the same.
No, they're not.
So I like having this 4-way stop because I think.
Is there a big problem there? I mean, I know
Depends on who you talk to.
it's two different times of the day,
Yeah,
but how long of a time period is that?
it's probably not very long. It's just that perceived, hey, it's the peak. Why am I stopped here? There's no one here I'm waiting for. But yet, if you're that person going east and west at that PM,
never get
it's
through.
like, wow, I can pull up and I go through instead of waiting for my 2-minute cycle length while these people are just cruising through. So, I mean, I look at it differently. I think we still got to provide a service to the citizens here. I understand that there's peak.
Invent
But-
a new type of intersection like we have on the on-ramps. where the stop sign allows two to go.
Oh, the metering?
Yeah, metered stop sign to allow two to go east, north and south, and only one to go east and west.
Actually, I kind of looked at it, my in-laws were just in Cairo. And I was asking Hasem about it because he's from Egypt. And it's a free-for-all.
Yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason, there's no striping, but to their point, they're like, you know what? What a lot of accidents. They actually said, when we were driving the bus, we didn't see any. But it's chaos.
Yeah.
There's scooters, buses, everything just from in and out, and but they said it works, and then that's what. and
Well, it
Hasem
works
said the
because
same thing.
everyone knows the rules and everyone follows the rules.
Well, and everyone's aware,
Yeah.
everyone is paying attention.
Right.
They're not on their phones while they're biking through
You don't have the time.
rush
there.
hour traffic.
I mean, if you did, yeah, you're trying. But it's amazing. So I just thought, maybe we have it all wrong, maybe we just take it all off and just
Take it all
Let it go.
figure it
Oh,
out.
man.
I don't know what insurance rates are there, maybe there's a reason why. No one drives a nice
I'm sure
car.
they have insurance.
Yeah, I really don't have it.
When I was in Mexico on my mission, if you're sitting at a red light and the cross traffic turns yellow on their light, if you can accelerate into the intersection before they can honk to go through a yellow light, then you have the right of way. But if they honk before you start to accelerate, then they have the right of way to go through a yellow light.
Wow.
So you really had to learn the rules of the cultural, you know,
Very noisy.
it was a little scary sometimes.
Ride the clutch, rev it up, looking for that opportunity.
I was with some friends that I had lived in LA with last weekend, and somebody made a joke about a left-handed LA turn on a yellow light, like
Right.
3 cars go through. It doesn't matter when the light turns red, 3 cars
Right.
go through.
Yeah.
And that's just, you knew that. If you
Yeah.
lived there and you drove there, you knew if you were the 3rd car, you'd make it through because
Right.
you have to be able to get left, and there's too many unprotected left turns. And another example of just learning what the unspoken rules are.
The
unwritten
unspoken
rules.
rules of the neighborhood.
Well, that's all I
Adjourn?
have. I'll look forward to seeing what you guys draft up. Someone will be there from TAC Tuesday.
Sounded like you had at least 3.
We
Maybe
should.
4.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
Any
Aye.
objections?
Any opposed?
Any opposed? Very good.
But Karen, I have a question for you.
Hold on, let me quit recording.
This is my neighborhood and one that I run into frequently.
Do I need to sign anything or are you?
You should, but I didn't bring it, so I'll just probably email it to you.
This is.
Yeah.
See you later.